Well, welcome all of you folks. We're glad to have you with us this afternoon. This is the 11th of January of 2022. I'm Don Snow. I'm in St. George, Utah, and our host today is Gerhard Roof. He's up in Orem, Utah, up in northern Utah. Our discussion today in our class is HeritageQuest Online, and this is part 3 of a series. We did parts 1 and 2 it's been a couple of months ago, and this one is on censuses that are on the HeritageQuest Online. And the more I work with HeritageQuest Online, the more stuff I find in there. And I'm going to do at least one more class and probably 2 more classes after this one. The notes are stored at that website that you see at the bottom of the screen there. We'll talk more about the details of those, and Gerhard will post on the chat box a link to a PDF of those notes, but they're online right now, and you can click on them there and read them there. On the HeritageQuest Online censuses, here's what we're going to be talking about today. First of all, what HeritageQuest Online is, and we've done that more in detail earlier, so we'll refer back to some of those notes. It's a free website that is sponsored by libraries that they can subscribe to, and then their patrons can use it at no charge with their public library card. And I'll show you the link that you can get to it if you're in Utah with your library card. For any of the public library card in Utah will get you into it with the link I'll show you. But there are other links in other states, and many states have websites that you can get to it for that state. They have all the U.S. censuses on there, plus several other indexes and other things. And just recently, when I started preparing this a couple of weeks ago to get the notes updated, the Canadian censuses are on there. They were not on there a couple of years ago, but now they're on there. And I have got some Canadian ancestors. We didn't know that until within the last few years, but I found them in there as well. We'll be looking at examples of searching and saving the information. Now the class notes, so you won't have to take detailed notes of this. There's the website, uvtagg.org. That's Utah Valley Technology and Genealogy Group. And we've been in operation now. We're going into our 32nd year. We started out as the old PAF users group back in the early 1991, I think we started. And it's been going all these years with classes and so on. That's where my website is and where they're stored. And we'll look at the more details here on those in just a minute. The notes are on there, and there, if you use them, they've got links that will get you directly to the article or to the web page. And recent videos are on there of classes as well. We're going to be looking at examples and demos, and in Utah we'll use this public library card barcode, and I'll show you that to get into it. Now let's take a minute, and I'm going to shift gears here and get over to where my notes are stored. The link that you saw before, that uvtagg.org, this is where my class notes page is. There's several pages here of information, articles that I write. I write a Free Bear Corner article every month on different sorts of things, and that's there, plus a bunch of other things down here. Links to where you can watch our classes online and where they're stored, etc. Classes coming up, this is the ones that are scheduled right now. This is today's 2022-01-11. That's January 11th of 2022 on the HeritageQuest Online part 3. We'll do part 4 of this 2 weeks from today. And then I've already recorded these two. The items 3 and 4 here are Roots Tech Connect 2022 classes. They invited me to do 2 classes for that, and so those are all recorded, and they'll broadcast those. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will turn those on I think it's March 5th. I think they start those, and they'll be online for a year. The class I did last year is online now at this time. Here's the recent class videos and so on, and there's the past classes, and those are links for the different things that we had on there before. Now the link on this one, the HeritageQuest Online Part 3, I've already clicked on that link, but here's the link itself, HeritageQuest Online Part 3 Censuses. There's an abstract here that tells you some of the stuff that we're doing and a little bit about what HeritageQuest Online is. Here's a welcome and introduction, information about how to get in touch with me. There's my email address if you want to get in touch with me sometime. If you happen to be watching this next year sometime on our website or on Facebook, you can get in touch with me with questions. If there's anything that you'd like to ask me, I'll be glad to try and answer it. The problem for today is what census records are on HeritageQuest Online and how do you use them. Here's the information about HeritageQuest Online, and there's the link right there. All of this thing, whoops, I didn't mean to, let's see if I can highlight that. There it is. That's the link that will get you to it for a Utah, if you have a Utah public library card. Any public library card in Utah will get you by clicking on this, and that's where we'll get to in a minute. I was doing it before by getting into either the Washington County Library down here to their website, or in Provo to the Provo Library or Orem Library, but this one will do it for any place in the whole state. The U.S. Censuses on HeritageQuest Online. We'll talk a little bit about what's on there with the censuses, and they do have all the U.S. census. Remember that the 1890 census was destroyed, most of it. And so that's not there, of course, but there's a little piece of it that is there. I think it's 1,000 names or something like that. It's pretty small, but it's and they've tried to reconstruct things to substitute for that 1890 when that burned. There's also some information on here on the census maps. Item number 8 on here. There's a census map guide that you can check and see how the counties changed. And if I remember, I'll show you. I just did screenshots a couple of days ago of the Utah counties and how they changed over the years. There's about 10 different years, 1851 to 1920, I think was the last time they changed counties here in Utah. And it gives you a picture of each of the county lines in those times. There's information about the censuses here in the United States. The censuses are released after 72 years. And so the latest one we have available right now is the 1940 census. But the 1950 census will be released later this year, since this is 2022. And they're probably looking for people, I think I heard someplace they want people to help index that quickly and so on. So by the end of this year, maybe within the next 2 or 3 months, I don't know when they'll release it, but sometime soon we'll have the 1950 census, and probably several of you that are watching this today will be in there. I'm in the 1940, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. There's more information about the censuses in there, and yeah, using them and searching them, etc. Then the Canadian censuses that are there now. They were not there when I taught this class a couple of years ago. And so I was surprised as I went into this now that they're there, and they're very helpful. They go from 1861 to 1921, but there are some records that are like censuses, tax rolls and so on, that are even earlier than that, clear back into the 1700s, that are here on HeritageQuest. And because we found that some of my ancestors were in Canada, which we didn't know about until just a few years ago, I'll show you that in a minute. Then there's some conclusions down here. Now, on that, to get into that website as to where it is, I put a link right up here. You see, that's what it looks like. You may not be able to see it, but I've got HQO, HeritageQuest Online. I just put a link right there. That's that link. If you click on it from down in the notes, it'll take you to the same place. And I've already clicked on it, so it's right here. This is the link. That's the Utah Online Public Library. So if you have a public library card from any city in the state of Utah, you can use it to get into HeritageQuest Online with this link. Now I'm scrolling down in this web page. It'll tell you a little bit about HeritageQuest Online. And then as you get down here at the bottom, it says use a public library card, or if you're in a public library directly, then you don't need to use your library card. And state agencies is the agencies that are involved with this. If you click on that, use a library card, it brings up this screen, which is the screen to get into it. And if you'll notice down here, it's already got, it's saved in on my computer, it's saved my barcode, so I don't have to type it in every time. And I've forgotten whether that's a Washington County Library card or my Provo or my Orem. I don't know which one it is. It could be any one of the three would have gotten me in. I just click log in, and it remembers that without me having to type that in. And so did I click? Yeah, there it is. Here I'm in. So I'm into HeritageQuest Online. Now, if you're in a different state, there'll be a way that you can get to this for free from your state and from your local library. Welcome to the HeritageQuest Online at the library, it says, because individuals can't subscribe to this. It's only libraries, and then the patrons can use it. Here's some information on city directories, census map. This is that census map guide that I was talking about. It's an interactive guide. I think I won't take time to get in there unless we have a lot of time at the end, but it's got well, I will click on it so you can at least see what it looks like. Here's the states, all the states of the US, and you can highlight any one, just moving the mouse around to the different place. There's Minnesota and so on. It tells you the information about it, and if you click on that, it will give you a series of pictures of different years as to what the counties look like in that state in those years. Very helpful, and again, it's no charge to use all this. It's all free. Here's the information about the U.S. Census, the census records. There's the censuses. It started in 1790, and then 1940 is the last one that's on here now, of course, but the 1950 will be hopefully within the next few months. Here's the Canadian censuses, and we'll look at those here in a few minutes. I'm just scrolling down on this. Here's search boxes, search the U.S. Census. Here's search books. That's one of the classes we did earlier, because there's a whole bunch of good family history books on here. Search the Revolutionary War records. That's the Revolutionary War pension files. We did a class on that. And the Canadian Census we'll talk about today. So these are the two that we're going to be using today. I'm going to click on the Search the Census, and here's the U.S. Federal Census collection. Now, over on the right side of the screen, as you scroll down, there's a bunch of search tips over here. So as you scroll down through that, it gives you some ideas about ways to start your search, what to do and what to look for, and the problems that you'll find, because these are indexed by well, they're written first of all by people, and sometimes you can't read their handwriting, and so they're misindexed, and so there's various tips here of helps and so on. It goes clear on down on there with the information about that. Over on the left side here are these search boxes of things to put in, and we'll talk about that. I want to show you some illustrations here in a minute. I'm just scrolling down further down on the left side. Over here down at the bottom, you see included in the data collections. Here's what's the data in the data collections. 1790 U.S. Census, Federal Census, and notice that these are all links. See that the cursor turns into a hand on each one of those. So you can click on any one of those and it will it'll open up that particular census. They got a bunch of stuff on here, like here's a slave census. So the slave schedule is on there. Now, the word free out here, and free and updated and so on, I suspect that comes from the fact that this website is sponsored by Ancestry. It's free to the public, but Ancestry pays the bills and the libraries pay the bill for getting on it. And I think, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that that's why some of these say updated and free, etc. But as you look through this, you see all kinds of good things on here. There's a 1890 veteran schedule of the U.S. Federal Census. So even though the 1890 census was destroyed, almost all of it, the veterans schedule, there you may be able to find something if your ancestor was a veteran of one of the wars, Civil War or any of the others on it. It goes clear on up down here to the last one. Well, notice here's a special census of the heritage of, let's see, of the marriages and hearing relatives, is hard of hearing, deaf and hard of hearing. That's me. And so on there. Lots of different things. Oh, now I probably ought to switch colors here because I'm used to looking at this on white on black because it's easier for me to see. If I go up here to my this thing. I'll click on now it's the way you're used to looking at it. So it's black on white, and so that's the way you're used to looking at it. For me, it's a lot easier to see if I turn it the other way around. Okay, now let's actually do a search on here. I'm going to actually show you my my dad, Eldon Snow. So I'm going to type in up here at the top, Eldon, Eldon. That was his first name, and Snow, Snow. Now I'm not going to put in anything else other than that, and we'll show how to narrow this thing down as we go. Click search, and let's see what happens. Okay, it came back with 8,884 hits of Eldons in all of these different places. Now you look at some of them, and as you highlight the thing, it opens up a box over here on the right so that you see a little bit more about what it is, what's in there. That's been extracted from the census itself by the indexers. And so as you scroll down through here, you look at it. This guy was, particular one, was born in Oklahoma. That's not my dad. My dad was born actually in Bunkerville, Nevada, which is only 30, 40 miles south of here in St. George. He lived here in St. George a good share of his life, but he was born down in Nevada. So if there's one over here that was born in Nevada, there's one right there. Eldon Snow, born in Nevada. In the 1920, he's in Idaho Falls in Bonneville State. Now my dad did go up there at that time period. I'm holding just highlighting, moving the cursor over to where the link is, and here's the information. It says this guy was 28. He was born in 1892. Now keep in mind that censuses could be a year either way of their actual birth. Dad was born in 1891, so that's a possibility. He was born in Nevada. That matches my dad. He's living in Idaho Falls. He actually met my mom up in Idaho Falls. He went up there before the First World War, and then from here in St. George, and then joined the Army from up there. And then when he came back from the war, he went up there and met Mom, and then he went to dental school at USC in Los Angeles at the University of Southern California. And he wrote to Mom up there and said, "Come on down on the train and we'll get married." So she went down to LA and they got married in Los Angeles. And so this looks like it could very well be him. As you scroll down through here, you look at the details. His residence is in 1920, he's there, and so on. Turns out this is my dad. And of the 8,000, this is the second one. Now, I could click on that. Well, I will click on that so that you'll see what happens. It opens up this thing. It says Eldon Snow in the 1920 U.S. federal census. And here are the details about him. He was single at the time. His father's, oh, that isn't him. Did I get the wrong one? That is not him. At least the father's name is certainly not right. James A. Little. I don't know whether that is him. Now I'll have to look. His dad was a stenographer for a while before he went to dental school. Anyway, I better check that one out to see. I wouldn't be surprised if that's my dad and they got the information wrong. I'm going to click back on this thing, and I want to narrow down this search a little bit more to show you what you can do. Now, notice over here, there's now I'm back to this 8,000 thing. There's these sliders. If you slide those bars over, it narrows down. Notice it says exact, clear over to the right, and very broad, clear to the left. If I say, okay, I only want to see those that are exactly, say, Eldon, not Alden or Eldon, E-L-D-E-N, but E-L-D-O-N, I slide it over to the right. So it's over to the right now. And then Snow, if I want to, with it over there, it could have Snow, S-N-O-W-E, and various other ways. I'll put that over there too. And now let's see, let me click on apply and see what happens. Oh, that cut it to 12. Look at that. Out of the 8,000, it cut it down to 12. Now, here's an Eldon W. Snow. His name was Stafford in middle name, so that's probably not him. Here's another one, Eldon Snow in Colorado. Here's an Eldon Snow in Nevada. In 1920, Idaho Falls. I wonder if that's the same one we looked at. I bet it is. I need to check that out to see if that, because that his dad was listed as the wrong thing. It could be indexed wrong, so I need to check the original census record, which is on here for it. Here's an Eldon Snow, born in Oklahoma. That's not him. Here's one born in Indiana. That's not him. Eldon W. That's not him. Eldon W. Eldon Snow, Colorado. There's one born in Utah. That's quite possibly him. Eldon S. Snow. Look at that. Eldon S. Snow, August 1891, Nevada. That is my dad. That was exactly his birth year and even the month. So I clicked on that. Here's the information. He's 8 years old. And this is the federal census. He's well, there's the information about him, where he was living, and the details, who his dad and mom were. Annie Stafford Snow, that was my grandma, and so on. She was born in England, and that's the story. That's exactly my dad. Now, if I clicked over here on this, I won't take time to do that, but if I clicked over here on the image, it would actually show me the image of the census for that time period. Now, what I found very helpful is to do a screenshot of this index, as well as a screenshot of the census itself. And so I won't take time to do that now, but I find that really helpful to do. I'm going to click to go back here. And let's go back. Click, there it is, back. Okay, now I'm back to this this list of these where it cut down. Where I remember I got this by moving these sliders over to where it was exactly Eldon and exactly Snow on there. It does have a middle name or a middle initial, so it includes that. But Eldon had to be spelled exactly, and Snow had to be spelled exactly. Now, suppose I wanted to find further information. Say I knew that he lived in California, and so in a certain time period. So down here, I scrolled over on the left side. Here's some filters. The record location, North America. I'll click North America. Okay, it opens up all of these things. USA. I'll click USA. And then it'll give me a list of the states and how many were in each of these different states. So if I'm looking for the Utah ones, I can click on Utah, and there are only 2. And so here are the 2 Eldon Snows in Utah now. Eldon S. Snow, that's my dad. And there's the 1910 census. And here's the, which is the other one? The 1900 census and the 1910 census. And so those were the 2, and that is my dad, and so I could click on those and get those saved off. Now, Dad was in 1920. Remember, he was up in Idaho. So if I go back over here and say, okay, I don't want to see, well, look at this, Washington County. You can even narrow it down to the county. I'll click on close that one, and then you can go from USA, you can go to Idaho, and you can click on which ones were in Idaho and just see those. So it gives you a good method of narrowing down who you're looking for by the location. Further down here is what the record date is. So if I click on the record date, see, here's the 1900s. Well, I'll click on record date, and the record dates are only, let's see, only the 1900s. So 1900s, and so there's a 1900 and a 1910 and a 1920 and a 1930 and a 40. That there's 1 in each one of those. Well, there's 4 in this 1930 one. In 1930, Dad was in Los Angeles, and so that would be one that was there. But you find out that information sometimes is indexed wrong, and so they don't have the right sorts of things on there. But it gives you a slick way of narrowing down what you're looking for on there. Now, in the 1940 census, when that came out 10 years ago, I could not find our family at all. Nobody, I looked and looked. We were in either Tarzana or North Hollywood. We moved in that year from Tarzana, California in the San Fernando Valley to North Hollywood, which is also in the San Fernando Valley. But I didn't know whether we'd moved before the census or after. I could not find it. I figured, well, maybe we didn't get recorded in the census, or maybe there was a problem. Somebody, and I've forgotten now who it was, finally found it by doing a search for my dad's first name and my mom's first name, Eldon Snow, or just Eldon, and Mary, and then with a kid named Donald. What happened was it got totally misindexed. Without doing the search, I want to show you what what I'm going to edit the search. See that pencil? You can edit the search there. I'm going to say I want to look for, well, for an Eldon, but instead of Snow, S-U-E-R. Now, we didn't find this out only because I know that now. I can try that to find it. So I click on it, and let's see what happens with this. Oh, it says there's a 1940 census with an Eldon, S-U-O-R. I'm gonna one result. I'm gonna click on this thing, and because this is a really good illustration of errors in indexing. See down here, it's S-S-U-E-R, but up here, for some reason, Ancestry has it as HeritageQuest Online, which is their product, S-U-O-R. I don't know why the difference in that, but if you look down here, born in Nevada, lives in Los Angeles, 5341. We lived on Mecca Street. That was the right address, 5341. That says Brewster. I just noticed that this morning when I did. One of the things I found said Mecca Street, but this one says Brewster for some reason. I don't have any idea where Brewster Street is. That's actually in Tarzana. It's not in downtown LA, but in Tarzana. A dentist, that was my dad, owned the place. All the different sorts of things that are on there. And then down here, it lists the family members: Eldon Sewer, Mary Sewer, Sidney R. Snow Sewer, that's my brother, Donald R. Sewer, that's me. Now, what happened? Let me show you. If I click over here on the picture, here's the picture, and let me make it larger so that you can see what the problem is here. We're about right. I'll move this thing up. We're about in the middle of the page there. Okay, now it's right at the top. Here's Eldon. Now look at that. The census taker wrote Snow, S-N-O-W, but as you look at that, you could read that as S-U-E-R, and he just put dashes for the names for Mom and for my brother and for me. And so if he had written the names each time, we probably would have been able to figure out that that was Snow and not Sewer. But I didn't find this out until somebody had to point this out. Somebody had to find it for me. But that's me in the 1940 census. And there's the information about the details of it. So it's a good illustration that you need to get the some information about or recognize that you may be indexed wrong. And so you really need to go back to the main things. Now, let me shift gears here and show you just quickly a little bit about the Canadian censuses. Let me go back here, back to, well, let's see, you can usually get to the home screen. There's the home thing. There's the home. Okay, and now go down here to Search Canada Census. I clicked on the Canada Census, Canadian Census Collections. Now, here's what they've got down. Scroll down, and here's the stuff they've got. Here's all the Canadian censuses that they have. Notice it starts in 1825. Canada, the census of Lower Canada. Now, I would have thought lower meant southern. That's Quebec. Quebec. We were up there, spent a sabbatical year in Ontario. And that's when I learned that Lower Canada is, I'd call it upper, but that's Quebec, and Upper Canada is Ontario. But there's an 1825 census of that. Here's an 1842 census. 1861 is when they started with the federal. Well, I guess there's a 51, but 61s and so on down the line. Now, we have, just to show you a quick illustration here, um, our ancestor, we did not know where our ancestor had died. He was in Canada, Robert Dennis. He's my great grandfather. We had no idea where he died. We knew he was born in England and lived in England, married and had kids over there. But we could not find him in any death sentence, any death index. And my daughter, several years ago, put on one of the web pages where they had questions. Does anybody have any idea where this Dennis Robert Dennis and his kids could be? And she listed some of the kids, and one of the kids had a weird name, Bembridge. The rest of them were, Agnes and common names that have somebody, nothing happened for several years. And then she got a note from somebody that says, I think I remember seeing that name in a Canada census. We had no idea that to even think to look at a Canada census. We found him. He lived in Ontario, Canada. He moved over there in the I think it was 1860s, as I recall, and had a bunch more kids over there. And when I was teaching at the University of Waterloo, which is over near Toronto, over closer to Toronto, within a 3-hour drive, I had cousins living in Canada and had no idea that they were there. We had no idea that there were any relatives there. The actual, without taking time to search, it's ROBT in here. Let's see if this will bring it up. If I look for, there's 1911, it wouldn't be that far back. It was 18, there's Robert Dennis, 1891. That should be him. I think that's, as I recall, that's him. Anyway, we found this Bembridge with the family and all the kids.
I can't get.
Say that again. I couldn't hear what you said. Okay. Anyway, we found it because of this.
I finally got him. It's broadcast.
You got a broadcast. Okay. Anyway, we did find it. And so I got cousins that live up there. We had an interesting way of finding where it was, and a very inspirational story, which I haven't written up yet, which I should, of our going up and actually finding where the gravesite was. I won't take time to go through all that details now, but that'll give you some ideas of what you can do with the Canadian censuses. Now, let me go back to our HeritageQuest. These are the notes. We've now talked about the U.S. censuses, the Canadian censuses, and the details on there. Here's the conclusions. Let me see if I can get back into my PowerPoint, which is right there. And so we've now looked at examples. And so here's the summary as to what we've looked at. We looked at HeritageQuest online, and there's still lots more. And so I'm going to do at least one more class and maybe 2 more classes on this. And then you get to it with your public library card. And now for censuses, they've got all the U.S. censuses and the Canada ones. And the search box may be a better way for you to search than some of the other websites. They're all different. Each search site is different, so it's worthwhile to check them. And the filmings were different on some of the different films that were digitized. And so you may be able to read stuff on one that you can't read on the other. We looked at a bunch of examples, searching and saving the stuff. And there are videos. The video of this is on Facebook and on YouTube. And so that if you want to go back and read parts of it later, you can. Are there any questions or any comments that any of you have?
Yeah, Don, there's a question in the chat from Rod. Let me read that to you.
Okay.
What's the difference between HeritageQuest Online and Ancestry.com regarding what is available to search? Do they offer the same information? My library doesn't offer HQO.
I don't know the answer to the details of the difference between HeritageQuest and Ancestry. I have a feeling that there are Well, for one thing, it's free, and HeritageQuest you have to pay for. Or if you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, then you can get it as a supplementary partnership from Family Search. But I don't know whether that's the full version or not. My guess is that there's where Rod lives in Maine, there's probably some way that he could probably get to that, even though his public library itself may not offer it. It may be at a local other school, or maybe even on the church website, on the wiki, the research wiki, there's an article about HeritageQuest Online that even lists bunches of other ways to get into it from different libraries. And it's possible that there could be a library that he could find it in there. But Rod, I don't know the answer to the full answer.
Yeah, my library said that they don't subscribe to it as their library, but they have a membership card to a much larger city library in Maine. And they said if I come on premise to their smaller library, I can use their card to access HeritageQuest Online from this bigger library, but I have to do it on site on one of their computers, so I can't do it from home.
Yeah, that's the half the benefit of being able to do that. Have you got any relatives that live in other states? That I don't want to say that, but with their library card, you could get into it from other states.
Gee, I didn't think of that. Just borrow their number. Yeah.
Forget that I said that.
Okay. I hope this isn't being recorded. Thank you.
It is.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Any other questions or comments that any of you have?
Don, just from my experience, this is Gerhard from with Ancestry. From my recollection, Ancestry's collection is somewhat larger on both the US censuses and the Canadian censuses. And those should be available through FamilySearch.org's partnership access.
Well, by somewhat larger, what do you mean? Because the censuses for the federal censuses were every 10 years in both places.
There are more censuses than the Canadian ones that were listed in HeritageQuest.
I wonder, okay, I did not know that. I assumed that since Canada didn't start till later, that was about the first time that they did their census, but I didn't check the history of it.
And Ancestry also has the slave schedules. I noticed only one slave schedule in HQO. There are a couple of different years of slave schedules at Ancestry.
There are 2 or 3 there on that list.
I missed that. Okay.
Yeah. But it might be different than Ancestry, so it's certainly worthwhile checking to see what's there. By the way, the book that discusses all the U.S. censuses that's so popular, Dollarhide's book called the Census Book, that's the name of it. There's links on my notes there as to where that whole book is online in HeritageQuest Online. And all the PDFs of each section can be downloaded. You used it not in the book section, but in another place. It's mentioned. Yep.
One other related comment is, Family Search has its own copy of the censuses too. Although Ancestry and Family Search occasionally for one census or the other, like 1930, have shared their indexes. So they're the same indexes you're searching. Most of the censuses have different indexes at one site versus another. So it's worthwhile doing index searches at all the sites that you have access to for looking for your individual, because they use different indexers. And so some made one mistake, some made another mistake.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's really worthwhile. And it is, and the fact that they were different filmings in some of them. One of them, it used to be, I don't know what it is now, but one of them, Ancestry, used to have grayscale filmings which would show you that if there was a big blob on the paper there from something, you might be able to read what was through it. Whereas the ones on Family Search, it was all dark and you couldn't see anything through it. And so that's worthwhile checking there, checking the NARA, which is the National Archives films, because you'll find different scans, different filmings of them that they digitized to put these things together. Anything else? Any other questions?
Would you know if the Ancestry, I noticed HeritageQuest had a Native American census database. I wonder if Ancestry has that. My wife is full-blood Navajo. She'd be interested in that.
There are a bunch of the Indian ones on HeritageQuest.
Right. I didn't know if they were available on Ancestry.
Oh, that I don't know. That I don't know. My guess is they are, because Ancestry owns HeritageQuest.
Right.
So I can't imagine that they would have something that's, that's out for free that they don't have that's available for on Ancestry.
Yeah.
Good.
We're members, so of course I have that.
Oh, and then you have access to the other one. Yeah, good. Yeah.
So, thank you.
Anything else? Well, I appreciate all of you taking time to watch today. And so it's been worthwhile. If you have questions or later on, I'll be glad to try and answer them. Just send me an email, and my email addresses are various places. Thanks for watching.